The sun comes up, the light turns on, and the natural world erupts into a new day. Animals wake in burrows, colonies, and branches to sing the sun's praises and launch into their daily chores. In Latin America, they'll need every hour of sunlight to find food, find a mate, find shelter, or find relief. All the daily dramas of their lives unfold in the hours from dawn to dusk. Night in the rainforests of Colombia is dark and full of terror. Even for one of the world's most poisonous creatures. A golden poison frog is lethal to most predators. But his bright warning color is little use without the sun to light it up. He chooses to stay put and wait for morning. Red-footed tortoises don't need the lights on to stay safe. They're well armored against attack. But even they are easily spooked by things that go bump in the night. It's just a tamandua. He's at the end of his night shift, slurping up ants and termites in the trees. A blue land crab also senses the coming of dawn. It finishes its supper and retreats to its moist burrow. It fears the heat of the sun more than strange noises in the dark. In the pre-dawn twilight, a jaguar prowls the jungle. A crepuscular hunter, it prefers the dimness of dawn and dusk. It has exceptional vision in low light. Perfect conditions for a stalk and ambush predator. But this jaguar's chances of catching a meal unaware diminish with each passing minute. The light of dawn drives night prowlers away. The days are long in Latin America at the start of May. For most, it's a 6 o'clock start. When the sun peaks over the horizon, jungles from Mexico to Brazil are in for a rude awakening. Everywhere, howler monkeys warm up their singing voices. They're making sure that any rivals within 5 kilometers will hear them. They're the biggest loudmouths on land. But it's all bluster. Shouting just takes less energy than physically patrolling a territory. Cotton-top tamarins watch the howlers' antics with bleary eyes. they have no intention of getting up yet. While the nocturnal tamandua has no intention of staying up any longer. He's looking for a hollow tree in which to snooze the day away. But a family of night monkeys has claimed this spot. They'd already be asleep if it wasn't for their noisy neighbors. Dawn continues its rush across the continent. Next to see the sun are the creatures of South America's western coast. At Peru's Punta San Juan, one of the world's driest deserts meets one of its coldest and richest seas. That's the attraction for 3,000 pairs of Humboldt penguins. Even though there's not much to build a nest with here, besides guano, the accumulated excrement of millions of other seabirds. The chicks wake up hungry. Someone needs to go on a food run. That's a 10-hour excursion, so it would pay to get going. But it's rush hour. Here come the producers of all that guano. 500,000 guanai cormorants roll towards the penguin colony. Both birds fish in the same currents, but the cormorants have got the jump on the penguins. While the flippet parents face a winding trek down to the sea, the winged cormorants take the direct route. And the penguins' exclusive clifftop address is right in their launch path. Every morning it's the same thing. The plucky penguin parents resist with all they've got. As the horde keeps coming, some penguins get tired of waiting. One group makes a break for the sea. After 2 hours, the worst of the cormorant crush is over. Only then do the rest of the penguins leave home. Down on the beach, one final obstacle caps off their stressful commute. A gauntlet of fur seals blocks the route. The lumbering adults are not a serious threat on land. But the playful pups do love a game of chase the penguin. The cool sea soothes tattered nerves. The prospect of a 35-kilometer swim doesn't faze them. They're in their element now. more than half an hour after it lights up Peru. The sun's first rays hit South America's westernmost outpost. The Galapagos, a group of 19 islands belonging to Ecuador. They perch just below the equator, nearly 1,000 kilometers west of the mainland. On shores of black basalt, black lizards bask. Cold-blooded, they can't get going without a jump start from the morning sun. They're marine iguanas. Their spread-eagle posture, a way of absorbing heat as fast as possible. They're eager to get going this morning. Not because the sun is up, but because their body clocks are synchronized to the ebb and flow of the sea. Today, low tide is in the morning. It exposes the only thing they eat: beds of algae. They'll feed until the cold sea spray slows down their munching muscles too much. Then it's back to basking, rinse, and repeat. Massive males watch from the wings, but they don't join in. They've got bigger plans and need to soak up more sunshine before they're ready. On Isabella, the largest Galapagos island, there are even larger reptiles. Thousands of seabirds return to their nest burrows. Now the sun is out, including plump little petrels, moves with a real sense of purpose. For her, walking 200 meters a day is vigorous exercise. But today, she may do 600 meters or more. Because today, she's decided to migrate. She's been grazing down in the crater, where seasonal rains nourished tasty grass. But the weather is changing. The warm, wet days are ending. So she's moving up in the world. In the cooler, drier days to come, she'll still find good vegetation on the crater rim. Many of her fellow Alcedo tortoises are already up here. On Isabella Island, tortoises only live in the volcanic highlands. And since they don't travel far, the populations on each volcano don't mingle. So each of the 5 volcanoes has developed its own tortoise subspecies. The 6,000 or so Alcedo tortoises only live on the volcano that bears their name. Marooned on an island within an island. The crater rim is so popular with migrating Alcedo tortoises that they've gouged out well-worn tortoise highways, which makes it easy for an amorous male to catch up with the female. He runs her down and, presses his weight advantage. He's twice her size. This is just the start of their courtship. He'll pursue her like this for days. But nothing will come of it unless she decides to lift her tail and grant him access. A volcano on the equator is one extreme reptile habitat. But Mexico's Sonoran Desert takes things up a notch. Here, the day will soon be too hot, even for the cold-blooded. The Gila monster needs to seize its moment. It's been hiding underground for the last 45 days, doing absolutely nothing. It only eats about 10 times a year. And today is a breakfast day. The sluggish reptile tastes the air for signs of even slower moving prey. Smells like something's under this cactus. Eggs. Perfect. They won't put up much of a fight. Just crack and swallow, egg after egg after egg. It eats up to a third of its body weight. With so few meals, it must make each one count. Fat and happy, it heads for home for a month or two of rest. Mammals, on the other hand, constantly need to fuel their warm-blooded bodies. In Colombia, the cotton-top tamarin family is finally ready to start its day. By rising late, they avoid run-ins with early morning predators. But now, they're famished. The dominant pair lead the search for food. Tiny monkeys have tiny digestive systems, so they need a high-energy diet. Fruit's good. A little grooming over breakfast helps keep relations within the troop harmonious. But when the eldest daughter tries to feed too close to her mother, she receives a thrashing. This isn't really about food. It's all part of the matriarch's plan to drive her sexually mature daughter out of the troop. It's a bit rough, but it's better for the gene pool if the kids leave home. And just like that, Mum's back to searching for insects among the leaves. They're a high-protein delicacy. If she's lucky, she may even catch something more substantial, like a small lizard or a frog. If the snakes don't get them first. There's one frog that has no fear of any predator. By day, the golden poison frog makes no attempt to blend in or hide. The hive's get-up is now a clear warning. Eat me at your peril. This male has enough poison to kill 10 people. He's untouchable. But his babies are poison-free and defenseless. The male has fertilized several clutches of eggs, well hidden in leaf pools around his territory. The females that laid them are long gone. Caring for the babies is his day job. He checks on offspring in various stages of development. His oldest tadpoles are already breathing air. But the youngest depend on oxygen dissolved in their puddles. As the morning warms up, he finds one that has almost gone dry. Dad springs into action, using his own body to soak up water and bring it to his eggs. It's going to be a long day. In the Peruvian Andes, a spectacled bear is also checking her territory for eggs. She's coming up to her first mating season and needs a good meal. She's found bird nests up here before, but today, nothing. The heat is oppressive. She should be seeking shade. At last, a nest. For this mostly vegetarian bear, the rich yolks are a rare hit of concentrated nutrition. Well fed, she can afford to take a siesta in a favorite tree. She's made her own nest by bending down its upper branches. Her first breeding season will coincide with the ripening of its fruit. She'll have a handy meal when she needs it most. But neither she nor the fruit are quite ready yet. So for the rest of today, she can just relax. Relaxation is not on this bird's daily schedule. Like all hummingbirds, glittering-throated emeralds have a supercharged metabolism. And this female is eating for 3. She rears her young alone. And they are always hungry. On the forested slopes of the Colombian Andes, she's found a parasol to protect them. It's a wise precaution. As the sun reaches its zenith, the temperature climbs to 30 degrees Celsius. Further down in the lowland forests, the cotton tops are taking a midday break. But one doesn't get a rest. It's this young male's turn to stand guard. He's vigilant, scanning the sky for raptors. But as he checks out a potential threat, an approaching boa flies under his radar. The hawk has already lost the element of surprise. But the snake still has a chance of snatching a snoozing snack. The jig is up. The sentry has come through. In seconds, everyone is alert. They beat a retreat to higher branches. There are more than 200 species of snake in Colombia, but none that worry Father Frog with his toxic armor. His archenemy is the tropical heat. He continues his rounds to discover a blessed event about to turn into a disaster. One of his batches of eggs is hatching, and there's not enough water for them to survive. He can't possibly fetch enough water for growing tadpoles to live in, so he'll need to take them to the water. He secretes a special glue that holds them firmly on his back as he sets off to find bigger pools for them. Safe at last. Here, they'll have enough water to make it to Froghood. As the midday sun blazes in the sky, most animals seek shade. Toasted to perfection, an iguana shifts to the underside of its branch to avoid overheating. But in the Galapagos, its distant cousins are still soaking up sun. The smaller iguanas are recovering from their time feeding in the cold spray. While the biggest males are still warming up. They're only just getting ready to start their foraging. Unlike the little guys, they don't care about the tides. They've been waiting for the hottest part of the day, needing all the heat they can muster for what they're about to do. One after another, they take the plunge and swim out to sea. The cool ocean currents around the island sap their body heat. The cold-blooded iguanas have no insulating blubber or fur to protect them. Then they dive. Lungs full of air, they battle their own buoyancy to reach the sea floor. Their flattened tails propel them 9 meters below the waves. Only the strongest males can pull this off. The algae down here are much lusher than those on the exposed rocks above. And the big guys have it all to themselves, no matter what the tide is doing. But they're taking a big risk for their exclusive access. If this male gets too cold to swim, the currents will sweep him out to sea. He anchors himself to the rocks with powerful claws and reaps his reward. His short, blunt snout lets him get his teeth right up against the rock. He's a scraping machine. His heart beats just 7 times a minute as he conserves his energy and pushes himself to the limit. But after 30 minutes, he must head back. His muscles will soon seize up from the cold. By the time he hauls himself out, his body is 10 degrees cooler. It'll take the rest of the afternoon to get warm again. For most reptiles, overheating is the bigger danger. Cold makes tortoises inactive. Overheating can kill them. While not as extreme as their iguana neighbors, Galapagos tortoises also cool off in the water. When they get too hot, they enjoy a good mud wallow. Once he's suitably chilled, this male's attention soon drifts to other biological imperatives. It's slippery when wet. But with determination like this, the future of the species looks bright. In Peru, there's no cooling off for Humboldts on nest duty. Their only respite from the sun is a shallow tunnel in another bird's guano. The penguins carry thick insulation against the frigid ocean water. But it makes nesting in this bone-dry desert downright dangerous, as the vultures on their doorstep constantly remind them. Further north in Colombia, the day swings to the opposite extreme. The afternoon brings first clouds, then a short, violent downpour. Howler monkeys shelter as best they can. The golden poison frog makes sure his clutches of eggs aren't being washed away. The hummingbird chicks are safe. Their leaf, now a handy umbrella. The adults simply carry on feeding. Performing aerial acrobatics like this with wings beating 80 times per second requires a lot of energy. Hummingbirds are always running on empty. They simply can't afford to let a little rain stop them. Starting at around 4 p.m., the air temperature starts to drop in the Galapagos. Marine iguanas, big and small, have eaten their fill. In fact, they've eaten enough salty seaweed to permanently pickle their kidneys. But they've evolved a clever solution. Highly efficient salt glands in their massive nasal cavities. What they haven't yet evolved is the good grace not to sneeze salt all over their neighbors. The work of the day is done, and it's time to ease into the evening with some pampering. Tired iguanas enjoy some leisurely grooming from Sally Lightfoot crabs that pick off parasites and dead skin cells. Colombia's cotton-top tamarins also plan to turn in well before dusk. But their preparations for an early night are frenetic. They're rushing around, eating while they can, and looking for a place to bed down. Their sentry system works fine for daytime dangers, but for the predators that come at dusk, they'll need a safe sleeping tree. The world's slowest mammals share their jungles and their fears. Three-toed sloths have no hope of scurrying into some high, thin branches to escape predators. And this one has an urgent problem. His bowels are as sluggish as he is. He has one movement a week, and this is his day. Scientists aren't sure why, but he'll only relieve himself on the ground. He needs to hurry. Hurry being a relative term, lest he face his foes in a compromising position. Half of all sloth deaths happen during this weekly release. It's a high-stakes gamble. But oh, such sweet relief. He can dump 30% of his body weight in just one of these rounds of Russian toilette. The cleanup crew arrives promptly. Good dung is not easy to find in the rainforest. There's plenty of nutrition left for the dung beetles in this lot. It's been good for the sloth too. He's still alive. Other animals will risk their lives before the day is out. On the shores of Mexico's Sea of Cortez, something big is about to go down. The gulls know it, as do the terns. Twice a month, the sun and moon align to create spring tides. But today's spring tide is special. Squadrons of brown pelicans join the waiting birds. All here, right on cue. But for what? Wave after unremarkable wave crashes on the beach until a crest of sparkling silver erupts from the sea. Hundreds of thousands of small and apparently suicidal fish deliberately beach themselves. Grunions. The gulls attack from the shore, while the pelicans with bills more suitable for scooping begin an aerial assault on the grunions that have yet to land. But there are far too many fish for the birds to eat. Some of those that aren't immediately devoured stand upright, wriggling their tails into the sand. They're females, burying their eggs for safety. Males compete to curl around the females and fertilize the eggs. They've waited for this day and its extra high tide because it allows them to lay their eggs higher up the beach. The adults would rather face the birds than have their eggs face predators in the sea. As the sun starts to sink towards the water, the surviving grunions wriggle back to safety. Leaving behind their casualties and their developing eggs. They'll hatch in 2 weeks' time when the next spring tide sweeps in to free them from the sand. In Peru, the penguin parents surf ashore, bellies full of fish for their chicks. But like the grunions, They face an unwelcome welcoming committee. Sea lions have taken up position in the surf and on the beaches. They're 3 times larger than this morning's playful seals, and much more ornery. Even a stray cormorant can't escape their ire. Best to skirt around the edges. As the rest of the guaneye cormorants streak across the sky to their nests, their penguin neighbors face a steep climb to reach their colony. Some seem more eager to get home to their families than others. Perhaps it's because their families are still covered in guano. But it's all worthwhile for the happy reception from the hungry chicks. On Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, the day holds one final surprise. A volcano that blows at dusk every single day of the year. It doesn't spew lava, but bats. 9 distinct species of bat crammed together in this cave. It's literally called El Volcán de los Murciélagos, the bat volcano. As the light starts to fade, 2.5 million of them erupt from its mouth. They circle clockwise to avoid collisions while they build their numbers. And set off in search of food. Roughly 12 hours after it rose, the sun sinks below the horizon in Colombia, Peru. And half an hour later, the animals of the Galapagos are the last in the Americas to see its rays. The marine iguanas form piles. By cuddling up, they stay warm enough to keep digesting their algae. Even as the setting sun withdraws its last heat for the day. Dusk usurps the light. Terrors return to stalk the gloom. For those who survive the night, life begins again at dawn.